in YouTube world. What does that mean? I have no idea. And I don't know who's going to tune in today. Today is Sunday. Um, to most, it's a holiday weekend, but I've been working most of the weekend doing stuff here. Also, of course, I do ribbon mics. Hold on one second. I got to grab a wrench. I forgot. Um, so I'm going to be replacing a ribbon. I know you've seen me do these Nadys before, and I just can't stress the fact of how cool these Nady ribbons are. And weirdly, it always happens as I start to really preach about Nady RSM 4s, and this is an RSM 5. I can't find them anymore. I remember I used to be able to go on Amazon and just be click, and you can order a few of them. But at least when I went a few weeks ago and I went to check on Amazon, they weren't listed anymore. And I thought they would have been listed at Sweetwater, and they're not there at Sweetwater. Probably at Musician's Friend, but I think someone got this at Musician Friend, and they said it was the last one. I'd like to send a big prop out to my friend Hutch. A funny story. I know two Hutches. And one of my friends, Hutches, works out in the desert. And I thought this Hutch, we've done something he said, and I totally confused him. So he was nice enough to bring over two microphones. And I met his family because he wasn't able to come down, so I never saw him, or I would have known that was not the Hutch that I know. But he was real sweet, man, and he came down with his family. His kids were awesome. They're like going to be future producers, engineers, enthusiasts of music. They all had like purple hair and green hair and stuff. So super cool family. Well, he brought them these two microphones, and this one I'm only bringing to the attention right now because I wasn't unaware of this. I mean, I've seen these, but I didn't know anything about these mics. So he asked me to repair this. And when I give you, and like I said, these are some of the best ribbons. Now, I didn't know about this one, but let's just say the Nadys and these MXL R144s. These ones you can get right now at Sweetwater for 99 bucks. And out of the gate, they sound pretty good. But for the last few years, what people have been doing is, if you look in my link in the description, I did leave my email in there. You can send me an email, or you can add my social media, which is Manny's Mic Locker, and also OGMC, which stands for Original GravityWave Microphone Company. You can send me a message. I'll give you my P.O. box. And regarding the R144s, you then get my P.O. box, order it online, which Sweetwater sends it free shipping, United States only. And you can basically then order it for 99 bucks, ship it to me. My fee for re-ribboning and upgrading and just making sure everything's good on the mic and tuning it is $250. And the $250 covers also me shipping it back to you free, and I insure the cost of the microphone and the cost of what you paid me to have that upgrade. So if it's damaged or lost in the mail, you will get your money and you're covered. So that's the offer that I do for R144s, which to me are some of the best sounding mics. I mean, technically under $100 that you can make sound incredible. Same with these Nadys. You're going to see like Golden Age and those are all Chinese mics, the same as the Nadys. They're all made in China. What happens when you get all these mics is the ribbons are not that great. So I'm not assuming that you're a novice or if you're someone that doesn't know about ribbon microphones, there is a difference in cost. Like these mics are like 99 bucks or 100 more. The MXL R144s I just mentioned that you can still get are under $100. I'm assuming this one's probably a few $100, and even the Golden Age is like 150 bucks. Why do fatheads, which are another amazing microphone, why do those cost like $300? They're the only microphone that's $350, but they have such a great vibe about them because everybody knows they come with Lundell transformers in them, which is amazing. What's up, Jay? You will be getting yours. They're right there next to me. So what I was going to say about the quality is, if you get let's say you're like, okay, Manny, that's great for $99, but in the market of ribbon mics, we have $99, we have $350 for fatheads, and then suddenly we get into Royers and AEA and Coles, which go from 6, 7, 800, 900, 1100, 1200, up to 1300, and then you get into $4,500. I believe, in my theory, that all ribbon mics are almost created equal. There's a magnet and there's a transformer. But the difference in the cost, obviously, is the consistency in the build. Because if I had these mics and let's say I ordered right now and I got 20 of these mics, I can't cut 20. If I take one out of the box and measure the ribbon gap, I can't make 20 ribbons and cut them to this gap, because every mic I will check will have a different gap. And like the MXL, the R144s, I love those mics. And what takes so long, which I try to explain to people, it's not just that I'm getting them and replacing the ribbon. I'm getting them, measuring out the ribbon. Every one of those gaps is going to be different. The ratio is from like 4.9 to 5 millimeters to 5, 510, 515, 523, 530, up to 550. I've seen the gaps in the ribbon. So when you put a ribbon in, you have to measure it, you have to tune it, you have to look at it, and get almost 99% of the time when I open any Chinese mics, including these ones and this one and the MXLs, the ribbons are laxed, or you see imprints of a screw that flew off, hit the ribbon when they were installing it, pull the screw off, put the screw back in, and they let it go. No, I'm not saying that to any brand. I'm not saying anything bad. And then when you get to fatheads, those ribbons, even though that is a great microphone and they drop, I know Lendell's cost almost $100. So when you're paying $350 for a Cascade Lollipop fathead, you're getting a quality ribbon, a quality built unit, but the ribbon will always suffer. So if you have fatheads and you've bought in fatheads, you can send them to me. I'm not even saying you can send them to, there's only like 2 guys in the United States that really do, I think, quality work. You can send them to them. I don't care. I'm just letting you know that you can make those mics sound godly if they have a ribbon. And that is the difference between these $99, $150 mics. Maybe this one was $200 or $250 because of the build of the 2 ribbons. I'll show you that. And but there is a difference of why these are $350 and why would you buy an R84 from AEA and probably spend between $900 and $1,100? Maybe they're up to $1,200 now, because the quality that AEA does in the ribbon and the consistency of the build. Royers, every serial number is etched on every part of that mic. If I got a Royer in here and I measured it and I had 10 Royer boxes that brand new, if I unwrapped all of them, without even looking at them, I can cut 10 ribbons measuring this one, and all 10 ribbons would fit in those mics, because the consistency is in the build and in the quality and why you pay more money for it. So same with AEA. If I had an R84, an N22, an N8, whatever, you line them all up. If I had 10 of each, I can measure one, cut all the ribbons, and I knew with confidence that that ribbon would go in each one. But if I have 10 MXLs or 10 fatheads or 10 Nadys, you cannot do that. And it's not necessarily that they've done something bad or whatever. Is that the tolerances that Royer has on their build out is completely, like, not only is it legit, but they reject, if a certain tolerance is not met, and the rhythm thickness and the weight of the mic and the anodized or the covering of the brass, whatever the case is, they will reject parts that aren't as good. That is not going to happen with these microphones. But then when you talk about, oh, that's Chinese, I'll be honest with you. You cannot get this done in the United States. We do have the machinery for this. But if I walked into a machine shop in Orange County, California, and I said, hey, can you make this for me? It would cost me up to $50,000 to $100,000, and I'd probably have to order 1,000 of them to get the cost of these down to be anywhere near being affordable. So you cannot get these made anywhere, and there's a reason why a lot of companies choose to have this made because they can just call them. This probably costs them, $30, and then they upgrade it, and then they sell it for 100, 100, whatever the case is, whatever it is. I don't know technically, but I will say, but there's like, let's say SE microphones. I was working with SE for a while. I had traveled through China for 2 years, and I only used SE mics. I will say SE mics are made really, really good. And the Voodoos and the Voodoo Ones and the Voodoo Twos and the T2s and all that stuff. I went to the actual factory in Shanghai when I was traveling through there, and I could, whatever mics I could fit in my bag and carry, I was able to travel through China recording indie bands. But I saw the factory. It was incredible. So the the vibe of what you get in China is necessarily cheap. It's only cheap in the sense of, you could say, the craftsmanship of the ribbon. But them making brass capsules and all that stuff, it's getting better and better and better. But still, the art of a ribbon, like Bayer, and maybe not CAD, because I think they laser cut the ribbons and they have a machine that does the whole thing, and they probably can get the machine to put a wave, and there's ways of getting that all done. But to physically touch a mic, cut the ribbon, lay the ribbon, and with my eye and blowing on the ribbon, see the movement of it. And now I actually am a producer and engineer for over 30 years. I have ATCs, Neves, APIs, Wally Hider APIs. My sound system are NS10s and ATCs. I run into a what is it called? Oh my God! Hold on, I'm gonna turn around right now. I forgot it. Oh, sorry. Inward connections. So my inward connections rack unit is strictly for disc playback. So my playback's pretty darn incredible. And when you talk about when I do this work and how much it matters to me, I check the mics on my system to make sure before I ship them out. But if I talk into this mic, which I do with my human voice, which is low human voice, like I'm a robot, I'm not IE. But when I talk into this mic, I go check 1 2 3 1 2 3. I can drop my voice lower. You can hear the low end, and then check check check, and you can hear the top end. I check the ribbon mics like that too with my voice. So I don't just put it on a scope and go, oh, that looks great. But guess what? These are darker and brighter than other mics. The transducers, the cage, this one's round, this one's flat. It all has to do with the sound. It's why when you get U67s, which are tube microphones, Neumann has a, excuse me, looks like I'll need some Pellegrino. And like I said, if you like watching this, you can help me out in the thanks underneath the description. You can hit thank you, and you can buy me a coffee or Pellegrino. So hold on 1 second. All this talking gets me parched. Let's see. Huddle Studio. I've got an R144 and I got an SC1, which is one would yield better results after you work on it. I'll be honest with you. I'm a super big fan of the R44s. You can't go wrong with that one. But I will say the SE mic, if it's a ribbon and it's one of the Voodoos, or I'm not sure, even Rupert Neve did some of them, I would only do the SE mics if it doesn't sound good to you, which means you play it and there's like a little bit of a thump in the low end, or it's lacking some of its high end. If you able to take it apart and you can see the ribbon should sit perfectly in the middle. Boise, what's up, my brother? Perfectly in the middle when you open it and look at it. And then if you blow on it and you see it moving tightly and pretty good, it's probably fine. Don't send it in. But if you look at it and it's completely hanging in there like a hammock, or the ribbon looks distorted, then send it to me. But I will say, SC ribbons sound great. I think Sui at SC does take the time, and he has a lot of pride in his company. And SC is more than just a Chinese company. They're pretty international, and the European side of them really cares. And I only know because I was an SC artist for a long time. I loved those microphones. But I left right before the Rupert Neves came out, the ribbon mics. But also, I hadn't been doing ribbons at the time. So this was maybe 10 years before I even thought about working on ribbons. But I know that I traveled for years with the Voodoo 1 and Voodoo 2, and that was my drum sound. So Huddle Studio, I do recommend sending in your R144. You will get amazing results. And like I said, open up the Voodoo or the ribbon mic. Look at the ribbon, and if you want, you can even send me a picture of it. Contact me on my social media. Send me a picture of it, and through the picture, I can tell you if I should do it. So it's not even like I'm being greedy. Like, give me your money. I really want. I don't want you to destroy a good mic. Now, I can't give that same recommendations for all the Nady RSM4s, RSM5s, for all the fatheads. Every single one of those, send them in to me or send them in to a reputable repair guy. Have him replace the ribbon if the guy's good, and you will have then an outstanding mic. Hold on, I gotta take the drink. I did it. Talking is exhausting. Well, usually I would be here alone, just doing this. So, um, but yeah, contact. I left my email in the description of this one. Email me and definitely drop those in the mail, man. I mean, for reals, if I did do the SC, I can pretty much 99% tell you that my ribbon will be corrugated even better, only because my corrugation is a cross between almost what you get out of a Royer and durability, but then because I use finer gears, you get a little bit more fidelity out of it. When you look at Chinese ribbons, they have a nice wave or a cut that's like larger corrugation. I do a finer corrugation because I feel like the more points makes it durable, kind of like a Royer. But also in doing that, I believe you get a little bit more movement and articulation of the mids and the highs, and the low end is a lot tighter. So okay, back to the reason I'm here. I'm going to show you this because I'm actually impressed by not only how this mic sounds, but the design of it. So this doesn't have any screws to take it apart. This one has one, two, three. And then if you obviously wanted to unscrew this and this, these would all have to do with this part being removed, and you see the transformer. So this one has a lot of screws. I'm going to set to the side. This is the one called an Avatone CR14. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to take this apart. Let me see. I didn't prefab this because I actually didn't think about this till I went live, that I should actually show you this. Give me one. There it goes. All right, I got it. Okay, so this mic just comes apart with sheer movement. All right. So check this out. Let's pop this off. Look at that. So I've already done this one, and it has 2 ribbons in it. So I've done this, and it sounds. I had one that was like this. I want to say it was a CAD called a Titan, or maybe it's a Cascade Titan. I'm not sure, but it was a double ribbon. So somewhere in China, there's a company that makes these for everyone, and they give you an option of asking for a double ribbon. Now, how does this usually work is most ribbon mics have a positive, which is red, and they have a negative, which is black, which would probably run on this side. But I'm not sure in theory how this is really working, but this is only positive and this is only negative. So as it works, these 2 are going into the transformer. There's no black magic. There's only one positive and one negative. The way most ribbon mics work is this negative would be attached to this side of the mic. And then if it's, I think better, if you had a wire that ran around and encompassed the whole microphone, it's kind of like a humbucker pickup. So this negative comes out of the transformer, or actually it's going into the transformer, comes around the whole mic and comes back in. If you don't see that wire, then the negative is being attached on the transducer on the end, and when these screws go in that are holding the plate and the ribbon, the negative signal is coming through the transducer, iron or metal or stainless steel, and then not touching this one, but going into the transformer as well. And this one is sitting on a plastic kind of base, and it's sandwiched with a gold or copper or brass like contact adhesive or tape or whatever it is. It's to make contact with the ribbon. So it's kind of like a sandwich. You have a top plastic plate, a bottom plastic plate, and if you open it up, you'll see a strip that's probably copper or gold, and that crushes the ribbon, and so that sends the positive. Now that is still isolated, but the interesting thing is that they don't have to worry about isolating this other side. So even though this positive is isolated from the transducer, which means this ribbon is only touching this, but I'm assuming somewhere maybe, I'm not sure how, but I don't know if a negative is going to the transducer, but their negative is only coming off another plastic plate, which means it's isolating that ribbon. But this ribbon is connected to a brass plate that is not isolated. So maybe that's the black magic. This comes through the mic, it's positive, hits the transducer, and it's being put there. And then this is negative running to the end. It's not isolated. So now you have negative and positive going through this transducer. And maybe that's the way they, through phase or polarity, are able to make this mic work. I don't know. I mean, even though I have my own ribbon mic that I'll be coming out with maybe in a year, it's fucking incredible. But it's taken me a long time. As you see me working on these mics, I've tried to figure out what I really like and what I really don't like about designs. Now, for this particular mic, I do like that it's big and opened up. I do like the way that it's easy to snap these in. The only thing I don't like is that once you've snapped it in, if this was to fall, I think like a bunch of Legos, it's going to fall apart. But I don't know when I got this if there's any pieces missing. Maybe there were other clips in this, and maybe someone opened this up and it's not stock factory. But and if I was designing this mic, I would have made this a lot thinner, so you can have this open front end. And the transducer is really probably half that, and that's on a figure eight, which is all. Well, most ribbons are figure eight unless they're chambered like a RCA, BK5, or Buyer 160s, or the Buyer 130s, or the Buyer 260s, or the Buyer 500s. I would have made that thinner, because at that point you have a beautiful open mic. That is a lot of room for air and sound to get into. But I know that ribbons hear everything. So yeah, I mean, that's just me. So these things like this, I've learned. So when I make my microphone, which I am making it, I'll be able to share with you soon. I can't tell you the details of the design yet, because I'm pretty positive I will have one of the only mics on Earth that is going to be made the way I'm making my mic. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. Avatone, this has already been finished, or I'm on my Instagram, I took this apart yesterday so you can see me change the ribbon. I may copy that and repost it here, but for right now, I'm going to work on the Nady. So let me put this back safely in its box. Hold on. I don't want Butch to be coming after me. Hutch, I'm sorry, to be coming after me. So I want to get the Nady back in the world. Now we're back onto the Nady. And once again, this is about getting a microphone that now you could probably find these less than 100. These have all the same essential things that you'll find in an AEA or an N8 or N22, and maybe not necessarily in the design, but it's a magnet, it's a ribbon, it's a transformer, all created equal, except in the installation of the ribbon. And obviously the design will give you different characteristics. All right, so let's take this apart. I was going to do this one when I was, because both of these mics are from my buddy Hutch, and I thought that Avatone was a single ribbon, so I was going to start with that one, and I was shocked when I opened it up and went, holy smoke, there's two of them. And that's basically like doing two ribbons, which if you see me do this, and you'll probably watch me now, I'll try to get this done as soon. If you're not into slow burns and you want to watch something way more interesting, how you make carne asada is a worth video. I just made my first time last night, my own carne asada. So as I'm doing this, I'll share with you some talking time on making carne asada. If you eat meat, all respect if you don't. I eat meat. Usually I go to the pavilions out here in Los Angeles. And I like pavilions because that one in Pasadena has a great butcher. and they sell Wagyu steaks. So I always go over there and buy, not because I'm rich or anything, is that the Wagyu steaks are about, I think it was like 30 something a pound. But if you look at all the choices, I usually get the smallest one, and it usually comes in about 22 bucks. To get a steak for 22 bucks in Los Angeles is pretty difficult. So I get it and I cook it myself. But when I went there, I honestly didn't have that much money to afford two Wagyu steaks for me and my wife. So I thought, okay, well, I know how to pick a good ribeye. And I'll tell you about that in a second. Don't let me forget that. Oh, it just came out. I got to do it again. Yeah, these are, I don't know. Yeah, I remember this one was difficult the last time. I've got to put some things to wedge this. Hold on. I don't know why this one is really tough to pull off. Um, so I made my own carne asada, and I remember my grandmother told me about how to make that. And what you do is, and so yeah, so I went into the other section to get more of a budget meat, and I always could pick a good ribeye, and just don't let me forget how I could tell you how to get a good ribeye. And I saw this wonderful cut of carne asada, which is, I forget what the actual cut is, but it was on 4th of July, and they were pretty much, saying if you have a barbecue to buy this. Why is this so tough? Holy smokes, did I get all the screws? Yes, I did. So it looked just, in the wrapper, I go, that's a good cut. Oh, man. Oh, there it goes. Thank you. So I saw it, and I bought it. And then once you buy the meat and make sure it's the right, it'll say on the packaging, great for carne asada. I forgot what the cut is, but it just looked amazing. You buy some oranges, some lemons, some limes. You get a Ziploc bag. You squeeze all the orange juice. You can even probably get a small orange juice and pour it in there if you really want to be fast. But I'm on a budget, and it was pretty cheap to buy the actual fruits. So about a lemon, about some oranges, about some limes. I squeeze them into a Ziploc bag, and then it wasn't that much meat. It was because it was like, I don't know, it was like 20 bucks or 15 bucks for it. Looked like a good amount. I then cut it in half so it would be thinner strips. Then I put it in the bag with all the lemon, lime, and orange juice. Then you add at least a tablespoon of cumin, which is a spice that's, oh my God, if you put that on broccoli, and I learned that from China when I was in China. It was amazing. So you put a teaspoon of cumin, paprika, like a quarter cup of olive oil, and salt and pepper. Maybe a little extra salt. You'd be shocked at how much gets a little bit diluted to that. So then I kind of mush it up with my hand under the Ziploc, seal the Ziploc. I take all the air out, and then I put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. The next morning I woke up and I just cooked two little pieces to see if I hit the mark. Oh my God, it was so amazing. Needed a little bit extra salt when I cooked it. Now that I know that, when I cooked it, I added some salt to it. And here's another tip, even though we're doing this. If you do eat meat, even hamburger meat, I'm not even lying. In the Philippines, my wife's Filipino, they use a lot of coconut cream and everything. Not coconut milk, but coconut cream. If you get some even regular, normal hamburger meat and you cook it up the way you like it, not cooking it totally, but add the coconut cream, stir it up, not so the oil separates from the cream, but just so it coats it. You could probably even put a little bit of real cream in it. Salt and pepper that. That is an amazing Filipino meal that you just did with just buying coconut cream. Anyways, back to business. Holy smokes. Okay, so looking at this one, now this is an issue that I have when I get these Nadys. So when you ask me, how do these work, or what am I doing to these, and what makes what I do to these even worth paying me to do it? When you get these mics and they come from China, that tape there, I don't think it lasts a month. it's the first thing to go bad. And the problem with this is that the tape is on the opposite side with the screen. So I know when I get these, I have to undo these 4 screws. I have to lift the transducer out of the body, tear off the back tape, and then I have to retape and reinstall this grill. This grill is the same thing that would be inside of a Royer. It's not, maybe it does have a little bit to do with sound, but it's strictly there to keep the ribbon from bouncing out of the transducer and getting distorted by, going left or right and maybe catching the magnet, and then it's ruined. So it's the same thing on the other side. So it's kind of like sandwiched in there between the magnets. So it's like the grill, the magnets, and the ribbon is right down the middle. And the only mics that don't have that is a Royer. They have a patent that instead of the ribbon sitting in the middle, I guess it was this way. Instead of the ribbon being directly in the middle of the magnet, Royer moves the ribbon a hair up, and I think they have a patent on that. And that's that whole thing when people say, oh, you're recording a guitar, you use the front of the ribbon. And if you do vocals, you turn around and use the backside. The backside will have a little better upper frequency response because I believe the mic has moved out. But then you say, well, how does Royer take the sound pressure? Well, when you move that ribbon up, there's more room. So if you're heating a guitar and it's pushing it back now, it's pushing it almost into the proper zone of the magnet. So it will always sound good. And just in theory, I'm thinking that if you have a really great tension mic and you put it on a loud guitar, it will push the ribbon a little bit behind the optimum part of the magnet. So but most mics can't do that because the ribbons are not corrugated good enough, and Royer does a great job. So that is my whole theory about why I do really good corrugation, because I want, if you hit a guitar, this is going to move a little bit back, but it's more resilient. It's going to last. It's not going to tear. Royer does that, and that's strictly, I believe, in their design and in their care of the ribbon. So back to doing this. So let's say you're not going to do Manny. You're like, screw that guy. I can do this myself. And all I can say is good luck to you. I've been doing this for a few years, and every single time I do it, it is nerve-wracking. If you can take that. So what I want to do, I don't want to ruin this mic yet. So this wire is twisted in a very unique way that I need to make it so it opens up and I can have access to not only the screen and the clips, but it's kind of right there blocking the brass clip. So I don't want to break it. I'm nervous. I have a solder. I can solder this, but I don't want to do it right now on the air. So I'm bending this a little bit out of the way so I can physically work on this. So what I need to do is make room to have this clip come out, and I need to make room to have that clip come out. And I want to have access to this tape, which I'll be replacing. Now, it's interesting because this doesn't really stick that good. Look at that. This comes off so easy. Yep, it's really not even stuck to the unit. But when they send it out, it gets the job done. They send it to the United States or wherever they send this across the world. The tape is good enough to hold, but the tape will not last the test of time. So as the wind and the screen is hitting this, eventually these tapes will come loose in these mics, and you will go, oh, my mic doesn't sound as good. Well, that's why. Because you have this tape that just flew off like that, and it is sitting somewhere on the ribbon, stopping the sound. So there's the screen, looks in good shape. Now I've got to do 2 of these, but I want to show you something. So here's the black tape that I just removed. And this is an issue that I have. When you hear me talk about these mics and you're like, well, why do I need to do this? Blah, 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 blah. Back behind me is high-grade aluminum. Costs a lot of money, almost $100 for a big sheet. This is aluminum that comes from these mics. I don't know if you could tell in your camera or my camera, but me physically looking at it, this is completely faded, which is not shiny. This has a little bit of shine in it. So the coloration or oxidation from pollution or even sometimes the plastic or the formaldehyde or whatever the chemicals they make these plastic um, foam paddings for microphone, the chemicals have changed the balance of this aluminum, which also I think that means it's not pure because it must have some kind of iron or something else where it's starting to like rust or lose its color. Brand new mic, you get it before you even take it out of the package because it's been sealed in this foam plastic for weeks or months. It is already corroded. So that ribbon is corroded. It's 50-50, half shiny, half corroded. Why only half? I have no idea, except that is why we are replacing this ribbon with a high-grade aluminum. Mark, gas station, Clearwater, Florida. What's up? You know, my friends at Audioscape are from Florida, and I do want to go down there and visit them. And I love, my friend also has a really cool studio down there. John Nuno's, he's in a band called Torch. And I don't know, I don't think it may be near you, but thanks for tuning in. So if you're tuning in, this is a $100 or less or more ribbon mic that I get. And people send these to me and I upgrade them. And I'm just showing you a little bit about why you want to upgrade this, this is the greatest example. Right behind me over there is high grade aluminum, costs a lot of money. And then when you look at this aluminum that's in this mic, is pretty much close to brand new. Looks not, the ribbon's not even distorted. Never been used, most likely. Completely rusted and discolored, or whatever iron or chemical is in this that's not aluminum. The plastic that this mic came in, the chemical and the fumes are eroding the metal of this mic. And this happens on MXLs and other mics. Now, when I used to get MXLs a long time ago, they weren't sealed. So a lot of time when I opened them up, they would look pretty and nice. Oh, no, I'm sorry. When I first got them, I would open them up and they would look just like that. Oxidized, discolored, half of it's dull, half of it's sharp or shiny. And then now when I open up MXLs, they're completely wrapped and sealed in plastic. So the cases that these mics come in, somehow through a chemical reaction, distort and start to erode the ribbons. So, and I do think that a high quality ribbon is not going to do that. Aluminum is not going to rust. So whatever's happening to this, there's some kind of other metals in it. It's not pure. And this is a new mic, and it's already discolored. I don't know. I'm trying to get it so you can see. Yeah, so that is shiny, and then that is like dulled out. And I haven't done anything. I literally just got it. So, holy smoke. So this is what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it off this mat. I don't need this right now. The second, and obviously I have to make sure I've been working on a lot of ribbon mics. I had a back order of a lot done, and that's why I'm doing these videos, because I've finally gotten it down to only a few, and I've only accepted a few recently. My friend Jay sent me those. Thank you. And I'm trying to kick ass on these. I'm trying to do a good job. All right, so I am missing my, where is it at? There it is. Sorry. I thought I was almost prepared. I may have to move the phone up to get this locked in. But I want to work on it on this apparatus, my little vice clamp, because I need to be tilting it and working on it, and I want to make sure that I can do a good job and you can see it. I'm not sure. Now these clamps can work two different ways to tilt a bit. I'll try to tilt this. Let's see if that gives you a better idea. All right, so for right now, at least me working on it. That's even better. You can see how it's shiny and then totally discolored, and that's just the impurity of it. So when you do your mic with me, or you go take it to a guy that's really a badass that does this, only few in the world that do this really good. There's a company in Europe, and there's like two out here that do a really good job, minus of course the main factories for AEA and Royer that are located here in Southern California. They do great work. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this up. Forgive me. I need to work in this environment. You see my knees here. I'm wearing shorts, right? I'm not like in here naked or something, being all weird. Okay, so an issue I'm going to have that I'm going to do later outside of the videos, I will have to unscrew this. And I will have to go inside and replace that screen in the back. You know what? I'm just going to do that now, actually, because if I drop a screw or something happens and it falls into that plate, it makes it a lot easier to work on this mic when that is not an issue. So give me 1 second. Let me see if I have to do a little manliness, macho, tough guy. Okay, so let's see, that's coming off. And also losing screws is always nasty. So I'm just tilting this away so if the screw falls out, we're not going to lose them. And this is the transducer, which is holding the mic inside the lollipop or the egg-shaped grill of this mic. Has a lot to do with the stability and make sure that nothing's moving around, or while you're using the mic, it doesn't make any weird sounds that you hear because it's locked in. Okay, so that one came out. Put that far away. And then I didn't get the other ones. Hold on. Everybody, thank you. Whoever's sticking around. See, I'm 42 minutes in this. I've been talking about carne asada and stuff. And it's just like, believe me, if I can get this done in 20 minutes, I would. But it just always, it's one thing. So I'm going to see if this can come out. These screws aren't really cooperating with me. And I think they're still in the transducer. Yeah. So that's why I have it. Keeps the screws from bouncing around. I got 3 in here. Okay, there they are. Holy smokes. See, if I would have replaced the ribbon, I would have been sweating bullets. Okay, those are the other 3. 1, 2, 3. The reason I count them, because they do stick to your finger, and if I bring it back over here and it falls on the carpet, I'm looking at the carpet like some crack guy that just lost his raw cocaine, and I'm... I've never taken crack, but it's funny. I hear funny stories about people. I forgot what they're called. They're called carpet, like, somethings, where they're always like, you know, in the old hotels, they'd have those little particles of dust on the top, and guys were smoking those because they thought it was crack cocaine, and like, you know, why am I even talking about this to you? None of you guys do crack, or none of you ladies. I know that, so I've done that, and now what I want to do is I want to remove that screen that was, I just spoke to you about. So there's the screen, and I want to take that off because I think that is just not going to work. I have to replace that anyways. These little tools that you see me have are my favorites, and they're a little bit different because they're Gundam, from a Gundam model toolkit. You can go online, you can find them. They're really, really cool. I just gotten used to using them. So I had actually almost wore out my set from hundreds of ribbon mics. And I went to I bought another set online. I just didn't like the way they felt. And then, so then I go, oh, shoots, that's right. They were Gundams. And these are pretty thick, too. I mean, I gotta admit, that is pretty thick. So maybe, you know, that is a finer grain of a screen, which I think could help a little bit with the sound. And since I got a little bit stuck to that, I'm going to get that off. Now, Everything that I do, most ribbons, you're going to use some alcohol. This is 91% alcohol. You know, if you could speed me forward right now, maybe like go ahead and go on with your day, go to the supermarket, go to Smart and Final, whatever you're doing, and then you can come back and fast forward all this. But for me, it's real time, it's my life, it's what I'm doing right now. Whether you are here joining me, I'm appreciative of you hanging out. And like I said, you can always get me a Pellegrino or a cup of coffee and the thank you underneath the description. I know I always say that, but people send me a coffee. I dig it. In this day and age, to be an artist or be anyone that's entrepreneuring, it's incredibly difficult to make a living, especially living in Southern California. And I'll be honest with you, pride aside, I'm a dual income family. You know, I cannot be sitting here with you on a Sunday working on a ribbon mic if I didn't have a wife. I didn't have a wonderful family and a bunch of friends that are very supportive by recording at my recording studio. So I predominantly make my living off of recording bands, but this has become a passion. And I really love doing this. I really love getting mics to people that could not afford a $1,200 ribbon. And then with me, you can get one. So I've already put that in there. Now, I don't want to lock this in because I still need to have access to the back. Because I have to, when I get done doing the front ribbon, I will have to put a screen on the back. So what I want to do is, let's see here. Save myself a heartbreak. I'm going to put one back. I'm going to put one more. Tilted. I would not want, as I'm installing the ribbon, this to come undone and just really ruin my day. Okay, not too tight, just enough. Holy smokes, holy cows, Batman. Okay, so now we're going to be taking off the brackets so I can remove the ribbon and replace it. These little marks that come in the factory, I forget how it's done. There's north to south, east to west, but it's their way of knowing which way these magnets need to be installed and how they come in. Now, I've gotten some mics where, from what I understand, they would be opposite, but then some mics like this, they make them so they're pulling and sticking to the side of the transducer. And then some mics, they have been the opposite where everything's pulling and going that way. I don't know. I want to do a test someday to figure out how much of the fidelity and reason for that. And also there's a thing about how close you can, I get these as close as you can to the magnets. There is all these things I was told when I first started, some of them haven't been true. So, how and whys and was, I'm not a scientist. I'm like a caveman. I'm just like replacing ribbons. But there are some questions, if you're interested, that you can look up online. Some real experts that design and rebuild old vintage microphones. Those are the guys that need to know everything, because the impedance of the transformers are all different. Anything modern now comes ready to use for a SoundCloud. A lot of mics now have phantom power. In the old days, that was not the case. So those guys that work on those old microphones, they have all the scenarios of what works and doesn't work. Okay, let's see, it's not locked in. Hold on. Fine. Joining in, this is a Nady, less than $100, maybe more than $100 mic. I'm going to re-ribbon and make sound like a $800 to $1,200 ribbon mic. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I've tested them, and I can say that the ribbons in my installment and the care that I take on these microphones, it gets the job done. Give me 1 second. I have my favorite tweezers I've got to find to get in there and do some little work. There you go. Oh shit, see? You just saw me do that? Well, that's exactly what happens if that was my ribbon, I installed it and I was careless, which I was careless. You just saw that thing. Look at it. It's just holding me in there. It's pretty good magnets. These don't stick. That's why I was fearless. Remember, when you see me install the magnet, you always see me like blocking these and doing all this stuff to keep that from happening. While you just saw in real time why I'm basically pushing it with my hand away, and then I'm pushing it in with this finger, kind of to add tension, so I can steer it in. But holy smokes, that's funny. That's exactly what happens, and why when you replace a ribbon, you have to be prepared for a hard break. That was a hard break. Now I'm missing my actual real favorite ones. Hold on. Why am I missing these? Give me 1 second. Hold on, everyone. Hold on. I've got to find these pliers. There we are. Next to me is, if you can't see, I'll just go like that. Those are all the tools I need. And I randomly am just have everything I need there to just go for it. Now there's 7 people here. Hey, 7 people. Who's here? Right there. These have washers on them. So it's even a matter of not only removing the screw, you can't lose those washers. All right, there's one. I don't want to lose that. And that's why I did the screen on the bottom, because sometimes this washer, which is magnetized, will fly into the inside of the magnet, and then I have to still undo the screen to get it because it gets trapped inside there. So better safe than sorry. Washer on that one. Just remove this plastic. So that's what I was talking about, how they isolate it. So it's plastic. It's like a PC board. That's plastic, same thing. They've soldered the negative or positive onto this one. That is running right there. That's the contact. That is the contact. And the ribbon is sandwiched between those two. So that's how that mic works. And we can't really put these back on because one is, well, actually, I was going to tell you, both of these are plastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one far over here. Let me put this back in the screen. That plastic one I'm putting here, and the other one I'm going to place here so I can still put them back where they went. Because of the inconsistencies of the gap and how these are made, I want to make sure that I put them back at least safely to the part of the mic they were on, because they may have been cut on the spot to fit. And I got to make sure it fits, because once I put a ribbon in, it's stressful. Okay. Man, I can't even believe we're already an hour into this and I'm barely doing this. Jesus. Well, this is what I do on every mic. And if I wasn't talking, it probably would be a little bit less time, but you never know. And also, if you've watched some of my stuff, I do have to repeat processes over and over again because of the standard that I want these mics to be. There's no screwing around. When someone pays you their hard-earned money, you got to get it done the best it can. And the only thing that has ever... Okay, I got the... Oh, shoot. Only this last year when my studio moved that I was really in a position of having to wait till my new studio opened up and I could have a clean working environment. That has been the only reason maybe you haven't seen a lot of these videos in the beginning of the year, because I was too busy building my studio. And then to the people that have sent me out their stuff, I wanted to be diligent on getting it back to them, but also didn't want to bum rush anything and give people work that wasn't done highest quality. Hold on. Pellegrino, drink. Sorry about the drinking noises. My face is right here in front of the camera. Okay, so once I get this out, and now I know that obviously I've done the screen, so there's nothing in the middle. One of the reasons I like to do that as well, because I want to clean everything. Sometimes there's just, like I said, that oxidation. Sometimes there's little pieces of metal that just in the building of the mic, it have come out there. Obviously, I can't see it right now because I'm at a disadvantage, but the ribbon is still there. Hold on. Are you going to come out for Daddy? Let's see here. Out, and I can show it to you. Good. Then I have plastic tweezers, which I can follow this up on. Come out. And like I said, up close you can see it. Completely dulled, oxidized or rust, whatever impurities have been in there, the chemicals inside the container it came in have just eroded half that. So you're already not getting a good sound. And then you have this half, which is great. I don't know why. I don't know one side is more than the other, unless it was somehow like standing up and maybe the fumes were heavier than air or lighter than air, so it only affected how. I have no idea. But let's see how this elasticity of this is. Let's see. It feels weird. It's kind of rough. Doesn't feel like my foil. Pretty durable. I mean, my foil would have already broke at this point. Yeah, that is, wow, that is really strong. I'm actually, holy smokes. That is not breaking. Oh, there it goes. I think this is made with some kind of like, wow, that is really hard to break. And it's not thick either. You can hear it. Listen to that. Wow, that is weird aluminum. I don't think this is, I'm pretty positive that's not pure aluminum. Because it doesn't, even the thickest 2.5, it would have already broken. So there's something coated on that, or it's blended with some other, or it's made with some other kind of metal, or it's some kind of plastic infused with aluminum. So it makes good, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter how you get the electricity to go through the sound to turn, or the sound wave to turn to electricity. So anything that can make contact with that. And I'll be honest with you, I get high grade aluminum because I think it sounds better. But there are people that have been able to design other chemicals that still that conduct electricity, that can move, and that can go to these. I think Shure has a patent on that. So those Shure mics that are, I forget the name of them, they're kind of red. Those have a different kind of aluminum or alloy or metal, or it's a chemical. I'm not even sure how it conducts electricity, except they have a patent on that. So those ones, I've never replaced a ribbon in those, and I don't know if a regular ribbon would work in them, but they don't work off of regular ribbons. And I think that's why they kind of have a lot of confidence that they're really durable. They're probably just thicker, and for them, the chemicals that they used were stronger, and which also make, oh, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean where the tape was, because I do want, when I put down my own tape, for that to be good contact, because of all this talk about me wanting to make it better, I don't want my tape to come off either. So I'm just going to clean this side. Get it going. There's really a bunch of gunk on that. Some of that is the marker. Sure, my tape is going to stick to this good. I didn't do the other side, but I will have to do that when I clean it. So that is no good anymore. Now I'm going to install a ribbon. Now I've cut this ribbon, and the length of this is usually 2 inches. 2 inches, yep. And wide. And they all come different sizes. So what I would do, thank you, Home Depot, get one of these. And then the way I measure it is I will bring it down. I'll tilt it towards me. And as you can tell, that tells you the millimeters. Reset it to 0. Sometimes when I turn on, it gets a little weird. And then I'm going to measure now the gap. Now I'm going to do it again. See, it just got messed up again. Make sure I'm right. 531. But that's too big. Let me do this. Make sure I do in the middle. I'm actually trying to be really careful because I don't want to chip the magnets as well. So you gotta kind of have to get in there. 530. What was that? These magnets are really sticking to me here. It's wrong. I'm gonna go with 530. When you see it get a little bit more, if I don't put it in there straight and the magnet pulls it in, obviously you get a larger gap than when you put it in right in the top and get it just right, and it gives me a so 5.30 millimeters is this mic. So yesterday or the day before, when I was initially working on Hutch's microphones, I did a measurement and I cut a ribbon. And since ribbons are incredibly expensive, I am not going to cut another one because I don't need to. And I don't have any, since I don't know always what the gaps of mics are, I can't really cut extra ribbons because I won't know. So these are little sheets I have inside here that have been different ribbons cut different ways. I believe that is the one I need. And I keep these in these Tupperware, glass Tupperwares, because it's just clean. I know it sounds really silly, but you don't want dust or dirt on your ribbons. And I just try my best to keep them. Even that one back there has a lid that's sitting on right now because I was going to cut some more ribbons today. I have a little bit of a back order and I want to get them done. So now I'm going to install this ribbon. And so this is a ribbon I've cut. And once again, it should be really shiny. the whole thing. That is a good aluminum, and that's what you want. That is what all the big ribbon companies that are great use. AEA, Kohl's, Royers, and there's a handful of other ribbon mic companies which take a lot of pride in their work. I'm not saying like MXL, those companies don't. Those are big corporations that do high volume of microphones. So in somewhat, they're proud of their mics, but they're not necessarily always concerned. They just get the job done. So I always dab alcohol a generous amount because this dries up really fast, and it gives me a small amount of time to work on the ribbon before it dries up, and then the ribbon doesn't stick to the metal anymore. And then it's really difficult to align it and get it in there right. Then I'm hoping that it goes well. Like that. Hold on. Oh, I just dropped it. Son of a gun. I gotta pick it up on the same side. Where are you? What's going on here? I got people watching me. All three of you. Now here comes the dance. That is it's just not gonna work with me right now. There it goes. Straighter. That's straight. I don't like the way that flipped up. Oh, holy smokes. So the way the camera is right now, it's kind of like working on the engine of your car, working from the trunk. So I need to turn it. If you see it go out of screen, it's just because I gotta get it facing me to get it the proper angle on this. I don't like the way that's not sitting in the middle. I need to get this to sit in the middle so I can then tension it, and the tension is moving front to back, but with because I'm scared. I'm scared I'm gonna ruin this. And not even that I'm scared, like I'm ruining it, like a ribbon, like I'm concerned about the money. I just spent a lot of time doing this. I just want it to be good. Okay, so we have a little bit of an issue here because I don't like the way that is. That is just bothering me, so I'm gonna rip it off. The reason I always carry a little extra tail on the mics, which I just kind of ruined it for me, is that if I damage it on this end, it just gives me a little bit more wiggle room that I could pull the mic forward like that. Can draw on that. See this ribbon, it's got one out for me now. Give me 1 second here. It is offset here on the end and it's tweaking it. Yeah, please go right. Good, that's exactly what I was talking about. Oh my God. Yep, I just think, oh, that went back. Let's see. Holy smokes, I think I'm pretty positive I just ruined this. Well, as fast as you saw me do that, that is not gonna work for me. Even though it looks killer, you can blow on it to maybe get it to go back to its way. That is not acceptable. So I knew there was something weird. Sometimes you cut ribbons, and then when you install it, because I don't have the quality of knowing this exactly what's happening, I can't tell. When it got to this point and these solder joints, and it's supposedly going to lay in the middle of that solder joint is tilting the ribbon. So as I'm trying to lay it in there, it's not going all the way back. On this one, it was okay because I have enough room, and at least that's in the center. But so let's do this. Okay, let me see if I can cut a ribbon right now, just so I can salvage this. Give me a second here. I've got to make a little room to do a little cut. Holy smokes. Well, there you go. I'm not giving up on you guys yet, if you're willing to stick around. So once again, because I have safeties, this is a nice new sheet, which is the reason I have it here, so I can use it. And I have some other strips back here that I can use. The problem with this mic is that all these strips are probably close to 2 inches, which are almost exactly this. I need a little bit longer piece, because when I just showed you when I did and I clipped the end, I shouldn't have done that, because all I did was, if I still had that end that was really nice, I could have moved the mic forward and I would have had that little leeway, would have helped me here. But for the video, I was just trying to cut it out of the way because it was the way I had the camera. Not making excuses, just the way I had the camera, it was just getting in the way. And I shouldn't have done that. That was a error on my half. Next time, leave the little pigtail. All right, so give me 1 second here. I'm going to cut this ribbon. Holy smokes, Batman. 1 second, 5:30. Hold on. I'll be there right now. Hold on a second. Oh my god, I didn't plan on cutting a ribbon right now in front of everyone, but let's fucking do this. Every time I go to the supermarket, they always stop me, security. And they say, you can't buy alcohol through here without permission. I'm like, it's not alcohol. It's sparkling water. And they, oh, sorry, sir. I wonder why they always stop me. Very interesting. Okay, so now we're gonna cut this. So I'm gonna already measure this out. Thank God you saw me measuring it, so I don't have to worry about doing it again. Now I'm gonna cut the ribbon. So I'm gonna use this to mark it. I could. I don't want to. I'm going all the way down like every half inch. But then I'm gonna go back, and just so I can get a common ratio of where these are, I just want to make sure I got it right. I just got some new razor blades the other day. Shannon, thank you for your support, man. You know, if people are gonna be doing ribbons, there is a certain amount of failure you just have to concede to. Working with something that is a little bit thicker than a human hair, that can disintegrate with a breath and catch a piece of metal and get ruined. That's just what happens. So you have to buy extra aluminum. There's no way I could be thrift and just buy a small amount. What you just saw happened, I already cut that yesterday, and I had the confidence that I wouldn't have to cut another one and done. And sometimes the ribbon is not going to cooperate. That was a point where when I put it in, I could tell that in my mind, I didn't express it, but I go, this ribbon doesn't look right on the other end. And then sure enough, as soon as I did it, it twisted and it wasn't right, and I can't do anything about it. So when I cut a ribbon, I'm going to show you. Some people use X-Acto knives. If you look at videos of Roy, so I like a blade. It's only because I change the paper. I do a bunch of custom stuff that I just don't like the way the paper comes with when you buy ribbons. And when I cut the ribbon, if you can imagine, let's say this is the paper, and my blade is coming in. I don't cut it just on the point. I tilt the ribbon down. I tilt the razor blade down. So as I'm cutting it, I'm almost pulling the cut and the paper at the same time. So it's cutting, and the paper would have a tendency to lift up. And because I put the blade down kind of like a guillotine, I'm actually getting almost like two cuts. It's cutting that, the paper's starting to tweak, but it's meeting the razor blade again, and I'm going to pull it down. So barely the blade's going in with the tilt, and that is just something that I've noticed. When I do a straight cut and I have this too high, I feel like it's not getting a good cut. So once again, that's how I'm going to do this one, is I make the cut it, and then I'm just going to pull it down in an angle. Screw this up. Sorry about all this hoopla. I'm trying to get this done. Give me 1 second. I literally have to cut a ribbon now in front of you guys, which I was initially like not wanting to do. But you just saw me, and like, if you watch yesterday, yesterday I was doing another ribbon and the screw flew off and then damaged the ribbon. And I had to replace it again. Like, there's just no messing around. You could sometimes salvage a ribbon, but sometimes you just you can't. Shot glass. Give me a second here. And because you can't really salvage the ribbon, you just have to do it again. So when I buy these sheets that are expensive, I know when I buy them, I'm gonna have some room for error. And like I said, the whole art of working on these ribbons to get them done is the same thing of like guys that build amplifiers. Everybody I know that builds amps, they've all gotten shocked. Some of them have almost died from being electrocution, trying to be, an amp builder, and it's like that whole thing about your art and your craft is just what comes with the territory. I'm lucky enough that my only danger here is getting cut with a razor blade. Yesterday, I sliced the tip of my finger, a little piece off. That's it. I'm not dying because of that, and I am careful. Hold on 1 second here. I'm just trying to get this ribbon sorted. I just cut it, and I've got to... It's not cooperating again. Hold on. And also, because I don't want to screw this up, sorry about not moving the camera so it's friendly. I'm literally in a moment of like, holy cows, am I going to ruin another ribbon? Hold on, everyone. Just concentration. Like, all art that you do, at least some of it that is mechanical and physical, and you have to do something that isn't just doing it all on a computer. Those are the times when, you're going to get a ribbon. So, let's see here. These you can get anywhere. I had these gears made. They're different. You can tell why they're different color. They're just finer. I didn't really like the ones that these came off, but I'm not going to build a corrugator. And this one works fine. I like it. It's comfortable. It's easy. But the gears matter. I've never used these ones. They look like a little bit deeper, but there's a store out here in LA that has airplane parts and stuff. And I just went through looking through things that had gears, and I found two I liked, and I bored out the hose a little bit more so it would fit there, and those are the ones I use. I don't, since day one. I have like maybe 5 sets of different ones of these. When I do them on this one, I just feel happy with it. Someday I'm gonna have to remove these and figure out how deep the teeth are in this, but hold on a second. And I want to make make sure that it's gonna, oh, hold on. All places go to, they have different, Royer has its own corrugation. Yes, sorry. It's always hairy doing ribbons. Doing right now. So difficult. Gears in those. I grinded it down so it just met what I wanted. As you can tell, I didn't use paper. A lot of times with those machines, gotta use paper because the gears will stick to the aluminum. And that's why, you have, they have this paper that you can usually do that. I don't really do it with that. I've never liked that. I always felt like it affects the sound. So custom cogs, I grinded them till I didn't use I used different scrap foils to figure out till I get the right tension. And then once I got that, I was happy with it, and that sounds amazing. And it has a lot to, all this stuff has everything to do with how the ribbon sounds. So now what you saw me do, it's not done yet. Now that I've done this, thanks, James. Thanks for the kind words. See, Shannon witnessed the Avatone yesterday. I installed it. So I need to grab one side of this. So okay, now, when you get any metal work, doesn't matter what you do, there's a lot of tension in when you cut metal, even though this is aluminum. Oh man, come on. I don't know why this is annoying me right now. Hold on. My hand is rubbing this. You have to release the tension of everything. Like capsules, when you make a tube microphone, after they've drilled the holes, after they've drilled the holes in the plates, they need to bake them because the heat releases the tension in the capsules from torquing it out and drilling holes in it. And you have to do that. If you don't do that, it'll distort the second. I need to get this right. This is super important, and I'm sorry I'm like, oh my god, I just don't want to ruin this live on camera. Oh, it fell again. Son of a gun. Okay, so let's see here. Clothespin because it's not magnetic. And I used to only use these clothespins when I used to do this process. I've gotten really used to using the plastic tweezers now. So I've changed them. And what I need to do now is stretch the ribbon. And this is scary because if I stretch it wrong, it breaks in the middle. So I'm going to stretch this. I have to put down this. I have to grab it straight. Okay, got it. Hold on a second. When I put it in the mic, it will blow on it as well. But I don't want to rip it. I have confidence in my corrugation; it'll be fine. But right now, I'm doing this live on the video. I just got to make sure that it's right. We're back in business. Holy smokes, that sucked. Now, if I blow this one again, I will definitely have to then cut my video short because I'm obviously need to concentrate, and me babbling and talking about how you make carne asada is not helping me Oh, shoot, so I just spilled my alcohol. It's okay. All right, alcohol is not going to do anything wrong with having it fall on your tools. It will on the screen. I don't want the screen to get contaminated. So let's put these out. Not to do what the accountant does, but I need to make my fingers clean. All right. Good. I'm just for extra love. Put a little bit more alcohol. Put a little bit more alcohol. Now, once again, we're going to have the same problem we did last time. It is going to have a little bit more than a little extra foil to work with, but I can't do it any other way because I need to have wiggle room. If what you saw happen last time happens, then I could sometimes I can recorrugate it, but to the most part I can save the ribbon. So let's leave this in there. I don't know why I'm sweating so hard on this, man. This has not been... I've had 2 days of really hard work, and I have a feeling it's because I've got to work on the camera from behind me. I mean, work from behind the camera, not directly in front. So let's see here. Bottom is crooked. Let's make it straight. I need to put more alcohol. And I tilt it down because any excess alcohol can run out of the transducer. What I don't want, you son of a gun, come on. Oh my God, that stuck to it. You care about this. I need to straighten this out. So once again, I put more alcohol. See it tilting, son of a gun. Okay, that looks good. It's crooked over here. Oh, shoot. I'm gonna hold it up to the light and see how I did. Gotta make sure that's right in the middle, both. Yes. The ribbon gods, as of right now, have looked kindly on me. Whew, that was rough. Okay, hold on a second. I need to rejoice in my Pellegrino shot of water. If you love what you're watching, you can buy me a coffee. What a pimp I am. Underneath the description, you can hit a thank you and buy me a cup of coffee. Buy me a Pellegrino. I mean, they let you put as much as you want. Shannon, you're not allowed, man. Shannon always gets me a cup of coffee. Don't do it. You're too nice, man. Okay. So, okay, now we're back to business. Now, the only issue I've had by taking that drink of water is that I could have... The alcohol is most likely dried up or all gone. So as I start to install these next brackets, I'm gonna have an issue. So this bracket, like I said, got soaked in alcohol, and I definitely want this to dry a bit, because what happens is that the alcohol will then stick to the ribbon will stick to this bracket, and then when I go to move this bracket, if it's slightly off, it will tug and pull on the ribbon. So I just gotta make sure it's dry. Allowed to buy me a cup of coffee. I think the last 2 times, man, you've been a sweetheart and got me one. Shannon got some mics for me as well, so I'm thrilled that he's one of my buds and appreciates the work I do. Like I said, I'm a producer by day, and by night I do ribbons. So you can see I'm kind of like the Batman of ribbon mics. Okay. Serial number says there. I don't know if that was from the original one. It says R4, and then it has a serial number. Okay, so I think that one's dry enough. Now I need to get my favorite tweezers. Where are you, Mr. Tweezers? I know I'm throwing my stuff back here and I'm not looking even where I'm throwing them. Hold on. I usually have all this stuff sorted. All right, these are my tweezers, my favorite ones. So I'm going to put this plastic clip back in the bracket. And I'm hoping that that looks right. I feel like this thing is not sitting in there right. There it goes. See, when I set that in there, that solder joint, both of those are really close. Scared me right now because when I went to put that bracket in, I put tension on the bracket and I realized that the bracket tilted. If I would have screwed that in, one, I could have either broken the plastic or that ribbon would have never been set properly in there. So even, oh, and then I forgot a washer. See, even though I do these all the time, you just kind of, after a while, you have to do, so I got to take my finger off. You just have to always check things. Like when I put my finger on that to see, is it flat to the ribbon? It wasn't. If I don't pay attention to those details and I start to screw it down, eventually that ribbon will pop out of that transducer and the mic will go bad. So I always put my finger down so I feel like it's flat. And I'm going to install the... Now usually this one would have a wire attached to it. Oh, you saw a tilt. That's the magnet screaming at that screw. Come on, fly into me. Fly into the ribbon and be ruined like you did yesterday. Hold on, everyone. Oh, shit. The washer came off. Hold on a second, everyone. This is a disaster waiting to happen. I need to get that washer off that magnet. Hold on, everyone. Oh, my God. Children, for that specific reason, I've got a bad mouth that cusses. Sometimes they say, motherfucker. And holy shit, not holy Batman. Son of a gun. James. Oh, you and Manny, I have absolutely zero in my account right now. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Sweetwater does that thing. They give you credit. If you got anything close to credit, you can order those two mics, send them to me, and we'll square something out later, man. At least I'll get them. And I can get them sorted for you. Okay, so... Oh, fuck. There it goes. Holy smokes. Now, even though I'm putting this in and I made it, I'm not out of the woods yet because I need to... Holy smoke, that is just... I need to make sure this is not crooked. Oh, see it move again. So what I'm worried about is I need to put this other screw in. And even though I saw the ribbon move, I need to make sure that that ribbon didn't move out of the middle. It could move, but if it kind of moved and then went back to where it was when I set it, I'm happy. If it moved back to where I don't like it, then I have to rinse and repeat what you just saw. And that is the whole thing about making ribbons. I mean, it is not mechanical. I don't have a template that helps me out every time. I just have knowledge of what to expect and to expect the worst. And then if you don't have that happen, then it's a success. We just saw happen with the screw flying out. When I installed those screws, it leans towards the magnet. The magnet is screaming to the screw, come join me. Let's ruin this ribbon mic. So I need to make sure this screw goes in. And it enters the hole. I can't see where the hole is. No jokes. To make sure it doesn't fly out. Okay, that looks really good. Now I'm going to block this screwdriver from going into the ribbon. I'm going to lay my finger down and I'm blindly turning this, not tight. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to do the other one with tension on the screw to move away from the magnets. Good. Not tight. Now I need to look up in the light and see if I got it in the center. Hold on a second. Yes, we are in the clear. Thank God, ribbon gods. Okay, so now that I have the permission of the ribbon gods that these two sides of the ribbon are in the middle, I'm going to tighten these sides. So I'm pushing this screwdriver towards me, and this is going away from me. That is my tension. I need to get those screwdrivers that are non-magnetic, but the problem is, though, I bought a bunch of nice screwdrivers which weren't. None of them fit these microphone except this Harbor Freight one. I think we had the discussion the last time, and someone pointed out that how these are made and why they're so good, but I can't do anything without my Harbor Freight screwdrivers, which, okay, so that's tight. Okay, so that side is tightened in. Now what I want to do now is just see where I am on the tension. And I've already stretched the microphone. Stretched the ribbon. So I'm not worried about it like stretching out of shape. I do want a little bit of wiggle room because that is the low end. If you make a mic too tight, you lose all your low end in it. And you don't want it too loose where it falls outside the transducer. Now when I put up the light, I didn't look at the bottom. I need to see where the bottom is. If it's not right, I'll reset it with alcohol. If it is right, I'll try to attempt to, yeah, looks good. So now, I'm gonna reset it. Let me look at this again. I think it can be moved over a little bit to the left. Yeah. So, it's like kind of like a guy breaking out of prison, and he just escaped. He's on the outside of the fence, and then he goes, oh, fuck, I forgot my toothbrush. It's like, really? You're gonna go back in and take a chance of getting caught? Well, once again, I could have been home free for this video and just lied to you and tell you that I think the ribbon looks good, but honestly, my gut tells me this needs to be corrected, and I need to do a good quality ribbon. So I'm gonna loosen it again with the alcohol and move it over. That's all I need to do. Let me check that now. Holy smokes, Batman, you got it. Okay, now I have, you just saw me get this one right. This one could have been right. And I had to go back in there and take a chance of ruining the ribbon just to ensure that the ribbon is good. And I mean good as far as being straight. These are all kind of a little bit crooked in how they're made, but I want it to be going as close to the ribbons, both sides. If I have it tilting too much this way or that way, or this way or that way, when that ribbon is bouncing up and down, there is a chance of it just twisting or getting crooked. There's a very amazing mic company that somehow in their design, ribbons get twisted. And once again, I don't want to say the names because it's weird. I know what the problem is, but they continually make them, and they're continually regarded as some of the best ribbons on earth. The knowledge that I learned from working on these mics is golden to me, which means my own ribbon mic is not going to have that problem. And now that I'm aware of that problem, I will ensure that with all my testing, that the ribbons will never, ever twist. In doing so, because I'm so a stickler on this, to making sure they sit right, at least I have the confidence of knowing that, you know, it's tough. I know. I wish, Derek, I know, man. Believe me, when I started doing this like 4 or 5 years ago, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. I didn't know how crazy ribbons were. I love Buyer 160s, so I was making a Buyer 160 ribbon before I even made the mic. And I started replacing Buyer 160 ribbons, and then someone told me that no one makes Buyer 160 ribbons because they're piston style. This ribbon moves with the ribbons going up and down. Buyers move going up and down like a piston. I designed the foil to move just like and I didn't even know that. So then when I got to these bigger ribbons, a friend of mine, Earl Houston, he's actually a partner at my ribbon mic company. He's the one that turned me on to all these Chinese mics because he was not necessarily a stickler for cost. He couldn't afford to go buy. Hold on. Oh, snap. Buy and new AEA mics. So he would buy Chinese mics. He had like 12 of them. And when I first started cutting ribbons, well, we'll have to see after we put this in like the last one. That's too small. When he first started doing ribbons, when I first started doing ribbons, he told me, why don't you do these Chinese mics? My whole life, only been about Buyer 160 ribbons. And some of the early AEAs, the RD4s, were fucking incredible. And then also an AEA R88 is probably the most godly stereo mic on fucking earth. And they can't, I hope they never change that design because it is just fucking right. So I'm a stickler because I mentioned as a producer, I've got Neves, ATCs, Wally Hider APIs. I'm used to good sound. Steve Albini showed me how to record. I have Cytex. Cytex are preamps. Hold on a second. That is not going to work. Sorry about that. I don't want to screw this up on the last screw. Tight because I want to still be able to move the bracket. Oh, it's still moving. Let me do the next one. So yeah, my friend Earl Houston is a sweetheart. Became partners at my company. That guy knows everything about microphones. So he would buy all these ribbon mics off the reviews, and I did a testing on my Pro Tools of all those microphones using my voice. Check 1, 2, 3. Check how do you sound? Upper frequencies, lower frequencies. I just talked into them, and I realized that my voice, in general, when I go low, it's nice. It has a nice sound on ribbons. So I did all the ribbon mics before I did anything to them because I thought I could ruin all these. And I'm not even lying. For about 2 years, 100% of every mic that I did on a Chinese mic upgrade, Earl and I could not believe, because I made testings of all of them, how much better they sounded. And I didn't understand why, because I hadn't yet built my own mics yet. I didn't know. So as I started to figure out what was going on, I realized that because I started working on Buyer 160s, and those are the mics I was cutting, which were real tiny, I figured out that the quality of the cut of ribbon, and then a friend of mine, Mark, had hooked me up with a really amazing high-grade aluminum source. And I was able to get these really high-grade aluminum ribbons. Every Chinese mic I did, cutting it literally so it almost touches the magnet, cutting it so the corrugation is killer, cutting it so it's tuned well, not too low, not too tight, tuning it with my voice, tuning it with oscillators, and seeing what's happening, putting in, what Royer does to its ribbons. I realized that the ribbon was the secret. Literally the ribbon. Holy smokes, man. I've broken out in a sweat. Holy man, that was just so. Even though I'm doing this from you, I could call it quits. I need to check. You saw the ribbon move. I need to make sure that the ribbon's in the middle. Oh, thank God. The ribbon gods have looked upon me nice again, and I did it. Oh my God, I can't believe that. So the ribbon now is down the middle. I'm happy. It's a good cut. Now I'm going to tighten these screws. Make sure they're really tight. Not super tight because they're just plastic and they're just holding down a thin hair width of a ribbon. But I'm going to go through both of them because it is possible I forgot to do one, and that is a disaster. Whew, I did it. So this is for my friend Hutch. Hutch, your Nady is done. Oh my God, we're looking at almost an hour and a half to do this. It's not easy, man. But once again, I don't want to discourage anyone. All these tools I've surrounded myself with, it's probably about $1,200, $1,500. I probably ended the day I've already spent about 10 grand in mics, parts, tooling. I have these diamond files because a lot of these, even on this one, before you saw me, or on the other one, the Avatone, I'll file down these little plastic clips so they fit right. And they're weird. Like that one barely made it, and I hadn't yet used these, but that would have been a case of if I can't put that in right and that ribbon is not being sandwiched properly, then I get these files and I have to file it down gently. And these are diamond, it's like diamond dust on these. Yeah, diamond files. You can see it even says it on the package. I forgot what I got. I got this at the jewelry district. And I go down to the jewelry district because they have tools like this. I mean, you probably get this at Harbor Freight, but the jewelers use this because you can hammer things. And I have to, sometimes when I take off buyer mics, I need this hammer not to damage the mic, but to remove parts in the grills. And yeah, so all these things that I've acquired from just like, oh, I need that. Oh, now I need this. Even buying like, 4 sets of screwdrivers because none of them are working on these mics. You just have to do that. If you can accept that, even these are still $20. I have 3 or 4 of these. The different kind. I just went to CVS and bought this. I can see it. Ooh, get it in there. Nail polish remover. I've gone through so many bottles of that because on buyer microphones, there's a lot of goop and adhesives inside. There's 3 different types of adhesives you have to remove. How do I know that? Because I've done dozens of 160s, and that's how you learn. So, okay, now we're going to try to lock this up. Here's the scary part. I've done this before where if I did not tighten these equally, and if I start to tear off this bottom piece, it ruins the ribbon. So I'm going to just gently, I've been arrogantly enough, I went to grab this, sorry, hiccuped, and pull this off, and it ruined the mic. So I'm just kind of, oh, good. Whew. I mean, I've literally have been talking to you, spiked the ball in the end zone. I go to pull off that piece because I need to now close the mic up. And that ribbon just gets ruined and distorted because, for whatever reason, because I didn't make this mic, and maybe in my installation, I didn't pay attention to a small detail of how tight that clip was. Usually on this end, it's brass. And with the brass plates, what I do sometimes, if I, like you said, you saw me put my finger down, if I feel it move, I'll put the brass plate here and I just hammer it flat real softly. I'll do both sides. So I've done that a lot too. And a lot of times I'll do that anyways, because you can tell when you take that plate off and look at it, it looks a little buckled. And the reason they get bent is because when you tighten down this screw, that will lean up. And then when you tighten down this screw, you've now made a little bit of a buckle on it, and it doesn't sit right. The ribbon will never be inside right. Even Buyer 160s, which are like, man, the insides of those are like a Rolex. I, as a safety precaution, will get the plate, even though they're brass and they're really soft, and I will hammer them down. Because I've done some 160s where it doesn't matter how even I tighten that screw, the ribbon still is moving in there, and I don't want that. So these are all the things I've learned after all the years. That if you want to do this, even that cutting, none of this is impossible. You just have to have patience. And if you're one of the few that are still here with me again and have enjoyed this, I mean, this is like kind of like watching someone fish. It's like, what? When is he going to catch that fish? Well, you got to watch it and you got to see. So now I'm going to install these screens on the front and the back. Now I put 2 screws in there to hold it because I removed the back screen. You absolutely have to see a little bit of alcohol on this. I don't want that because if that screen touches the foil, it will stick to it. Hold on. I just had to make that go away. All right. Make sure there's nothing there. Nope. So I use packing tape. It's really durable. If you know you need to use it, sticks to your fingers. It's really difficult to remove it. So these are usually 2-inch. And I can use this cutting board as a self-healing cutting board. So I know where 2 inches is on this usually. Even though the diameter isn't 2 inches, it's close. But I'll undercompensate to make sure I can get 4 out of this for that. And like I said, it's not crazy what I'm doing. The best thing about what I do is that I am a producer. I do care about sounds. And since Steve Albini showed me how to record, and I've been using Beyer 160s my whole life, and he uses Coles all the time as well, I've grown a love for what ribbons sound like. And because I bought Cytex and in the engineering side of, even if, once again, back to Albini, you learn. And I was analog for 13 years. So I started on analog. Didn't even have a computer didn't even have a screen of a computer in my studio until 2008. I know some of you may have been, you know, that's way far back for you. But I've been recording since 1998, 1997. So from 1997 to maybe it was 2012. No. I had another guy that worked Pro Tools in my studio that was a little bit earlier. I just didn't have a computer screen. I didn't need it. I had an analog tape machine. I had my ears. I had a mixing desk. And I was fucking happy. Not until I went to China that obviously I cannot carry a 400-pound refrigerator-sized recording on me was the first time I went and got a laptop. I had an 003, which had 8 preamps in it, which gives me it's my perfect. My Chavez, I don't think I may have the link in my description. The Chavez Ravine records that you hear is my band live, 8 tracks using the 003. That whole record that you hear was using 8 microphones, 4 on drums, 1 bass DI, 2 guitars and a vocal, and maybe a bass amp. So when I track live with my band, it was always that way. And that's how I have learned to appreciate sounds. Because you start with the most minimal, and then as you expand, your ears have already gotten adjusted to hearing different vibes. So it's because I was analog for the first 10, 12, 13 years of my career, my ears now, when I mix on a computer, I end up always sounding like my mixes come off vinyl. That's either good or bad. If you want modern sounding recordings, don't record with me. If you want something that sounds like the Jesus Lizard Goat record, fucking record with me. I'm not saying I can make it sound as good as Albini's, but I definitely have my own style now, and I understand fidelity, and I understand ribbon mics, and I use them every day. So when people tell me, what is this guy doing? Is he sounding kind of snake oil or whatever I'm doing? You just saw what I did. That's intense. But that quality in the cut is going to make this mic sound like $1 million, or I should say $800 to $1,200. The care that I did this is the same care that you see at Royer, AEA, and I'm sure Coles and Biodynamics. They have a whole group of ladies and men that strictly to the lowest tolerances that they will accept an error, install ribbons to make them sound good. Holy smokes, it's already almost 1. Jesus, I'm on California time, so I really don't have a deadline today. Today is Sunday, and I'm supposed to only go pick up my wife from work. And love it. I just have a few different sets. This is the oldest Gundam set, which I end up I have other tweezers, but these ones just do it. They're completely bent out, if you can see that. They're completely bent from me holding a screw like what you just saw me. But for whatever reason, now that they're dented, they have the indentation of a screw. It actually works really good. All right, so I'm going to put in the screen. Now, we do have an issue of this wire, and I have to get around the wire, and then I'll put the wire back. So I'm going to lay the screen in. Excuse me, I'm going out of view just to make sure I don't put that onto the ribbon. Okay. Do this right. Jeez. Alcohol. See, what I don't like about this screen already is that it's hitting that screw right there, which means that maybe the other screen on the other side was the one that goes on this side. So I'm going to remove this. See what I mean? Like, even that. I'm like home free. I just ruined this one. I'm not home free. I got to get this screen right. And you know, whoever cut this in China, come on, don't. And the magnet pulls the screen down. I don't want this screen to go into the ribbon. Okay. Yeah, that fits. So that's a perfect example of being aware that if I would have taped that in without checking it, it would be on that screw right here. I want it to be center. All right, there you go. I'm not even doing that to keep you suspenseful. It just drives me fucking crazy that I have to worry about this. Even when I got done, even when the ribbon's successful, you can still damage the microphone. It's just that sensitive. It's like putting a little piece of toilet paper in between there, and you're like so concerned. Hold on a second. One of my other favorite tweezers. Give me a second, everyone. Hold tight, hold tight. Oh my God, where are my tweezers at? Why am I... Oh, GCZ, screw it. Holy smokes. I would want to get, I want to be at a stand up the street getting fish tacos. And I can't because this is just taking me longer than I thought. Okay. What a pimp I am. In the thank you section is listed below the description. You can buy Manny, and only Shannon is not allowed to do that. That guy buys me a coffee every session, if he's still there. But anyone else, if you want to buy me a coffee or permit me to get some fish tacos, you can hit the thanks icon under the description, and you can then buy Daddy a coffee, a Pellegrino, fish tacos. And they give you any kind of limit in there. I'm not comfortable asking for anyone more than a coffee. I mean, I think this is cool what I do. If you really want to help me out, order one of these mics and get this done. That really does help me out, and I get to do something I love. And like this microphone, I've learned so much already just by doing this. So I'm going to be taking off that one screw. Hold on, where's it at? There it is. I learn so much every time I do a mic. So you are supporting me that I can turn that knowledge, share it with you here. So maybe you're going to do this repair ribbon yourself and have something to look at. If I have to give anyone credit for me doing this at this stage in my life, it's going to be Hobo Rec Recordings. HOBO like a hobo, and then Rec, REC like recording. My friend Ulf from Sweden If you can look up online how to build a ribbon mic, you're going to see a guy in like 2018 or something like that. He went through making a ribbon mic out of nothing. And I saw that during the pandemic. I don't even know why I was looking up ribbon mics, but I did. Sorry, this is crazy at this point because I have to get these screws out. And I remember last time I did it, I had to put them on my phone. Hold on. Well, anyways, Ulf, what a sweetheart, shared how he made a ribbon mic. And it blew my mind. And I thought, I can do that. And Ulf is actually the guy that had me start to do this. So now, fast forward, here I am years later, and this is what I do. I love fixing and working on ribbon mics, thanks to Ulf. What a sweetheart that guy was. And that's why I don't have any, like, I try my best to be open and honest about everything. There are some stuff that I really don't feel comfortable sharing here that I do to mics because people are snakes, just generally speaking. I've already had a few people kind of not steal what I do, but just whatever information I've given, they've not used it well, and I just was a little bit bummed. But that's going to happen. When I release my microphone, I guarantee you people are going to start copying it. So I took these screws out because I need to install that bottom ribbon in the back. I mean the bottom plate. So I cut these and I ruined one, so I've got to cut one more. But for the most part, what I do on my own microphone, maybe I should do a correction. I can't tell you what I'm doing on my own ribbon mic because if I shared it online, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get my mic launched and out. But if I shared what this mic was about, the companies that have money and have resources will get the job done, and they would copy my mic. And that's not me being paranoid. That's just business. They're going to do it. One of my new favorite microphones is MyLab, MILAB. They make a rectangular capsule, tube, and condenser. I love that microphone. I love the technology. A square capsule? If you know, microphones are always round. Well, since the 80s, my lab has been making rectangular capsules. So I even tested them. I did a whole video. One of my early videos is me testing one. When I went to NAM last year, I was talking to my lab, one of the guys, Mateus, and he just didn't say anything, and he pointed to the left of him. I'm not going to say the company. And I went, holy shit. All rectangular capsules looked identical to theirs. And I was like, what is that? Is that legal? And he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, it's part of the game. I don't know what they did different in their design, but they definitely made rectangular capsules just like my lab. And my lab cannot do one thing about it. Because I'm sure in the patent pending that they probably covered themselves. Whatever that mic is, it's probably different than my lab's. Oh, sorry about that. My phone caught my watch caught it. So what I need to do now is I need to replace that screen. And I don't want to ruin this mic. It's in there. I don't want to fly into the ribbon and distort it and cut it up. And as you can tell, I forgot to cut this ribbon, but I've already done this, so... Alright, so we're going to do this. Got myself in a very peculiar position now where I can't use my left hand, but I think I can manage this. Alright, let's see. We're going to cut that right there. Do it. Get the tweezers off. Don't want to screw this up. Okay. To that. Jesus, everyone. doing that till I get the other one on. Oh my God. Well, that tells you how good this tape is. Everything sticks to it. Whew. Really try not to screw this up. That is the backside. You have to do that because this mic, like I said, had a terrible adhesive that they used to keep those screens in, and with high sound pressure or just sound continually hitting it, that was not going to work, or it's not going to last. So let me put safely my razor blade back because I did cut off a piece of my thumb yesterday. I remember that. So I have 2 screws out here. I should have 2 more. There's one. Where is that? There's the other one. No, that's the outside. Hold on. When I count screws, I'm like, please, just. And what happens is because I clean my hands with alcohol and sometimes the screwdrivers are magnetized, if I walk by one of the screws, I'm not paying attention. If he's doing it, nope, it's not doing it. But sometimes the screws stick to the screwdrivers and I could be paying attention, talking, and one of the screws fly off and then I lose it. But at least on this mic, I could say even if I had 3, I would be okay. I don't think these are like, it's not like a rocket ship going to the moon, and if you're missing one screw, it's all going to go to hell. I don't like that screw, though. That's a weird small one. So I need 3. All right, well, that is just what they gave me. Okay. You just saw that, and I just found that. I got it. Holy smokes. Derek, hooking me up, dude. Thank you, man. That is awesome. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Derek sent me a little love. Derek bought me a Pellegrino, maybe a coffee. I do go to Ralph's. Like today, I went to Ralph's and I buy some little snacks that I eat during the day. It's not the greatest, but it permits me to work in here without having to leave. And thank you, Derek. I appreciate that, man. And Derek has added me. He's a member of the fam. And once again, when I started making these videos years ago, I think for a long time there's only like two people that used to watch my videos, and now I'm really thrilled that sometimes I release videos that up to 14,000 people see it. I know people always go like, it's not 1 million. Believe me, it's more about the quality, not the quantity. When I go do these live things and I hear from Shannon and Derek, we got James piping in, man, it makes me happy. There's people out there that may need some of this information. Now, I will be honest, nowhere online do you find anybody doing what I just did, except one guy just started, Cole's in Nashville. I think he did repair mic. He showed about taking apart a mic, but I think that what you just saw me go through in the nerve-wracking sense of the re-ribboning, when you watch guys, the only ones that you see do that are the ones that are like making the mic. So a guy that like uses like, you know, bubblegum wrapper, and he gets a Coke can and cuts it and winds a transformer out of parts of a copy machine and just does all that. So like those are really fun to watch. But because he's making it, yeah, he's he's not really held to any rules except he's just making it, and that's cool. But when you start getting refurbishing and doing mics like this, no one ever talks about it because I don't think there's a lot of guys that are doing this. I have to be one of the few guys in the US that will let you buy these strings. Now, that's not for like the guys that just say, oh, screw it, and they buy an MXL and go buy the kit on eBay and they do it. And yeah, they're successful. I know a lot of guys that have changed their own ribbons and their mic, and they must be blown away because I know the results they got are better than the installation of a stock factory ribbon. But that being said, to consistently work through all types of ribbon, even some of those, because I have a studio in Los Angeles, I have access to Kohl's, Royers, old Telefunkens, all the, you know, go through the garden, run the garden of Royer, AEA, even Stagers, and even, you know, I've SE. You just saw me do the Avatones. I mean, probably close to every brand of microphones I've gotten to do by living in Los Angeles and being a producer and having studio friends, even fatheads, a bunch. Um, that is the reward of knowledge and being accessible, having that access to all these wide varieties of ribbons that I think has made me rich, not financially, but maybe so, thanks to Derek, with knowledge. So now that I'm making my own ribbon mic, it is important to me now that I at least share what Ulf did years ago. I mean, Ulf really went, it's almost like someone just bearing their soul, and there's nothing secretive about it. But I tell you this much, for years of learning how to work with ribbon mics, what Ulf showed me still resonates with me now. Still shows me on the compassion and the empathy he had for people that he was obviously selling a microphone that they could buy, but he was also making it possible that you yourself can make a microphone. If he would never have made that video and instilled that message, I wouldn't be sitting here probably 7, 8 years later, or 6 years later, whatever that was from the time he made that video, to now sharing what I have learned. And so, even if you've never done a ribbon yourself, you know, I'm not saying send me your money. I'm saying go buy the cheapest, go look online, Craigslist, whatever, Facebook Marketplace, buy a ribbon that isn't working or buy one that's like $50. Take it apart. Go buy a ribbon kit. Start installing your own ribbons. It really is rewarding if you can get it right. And I know that if you were just to install a new ribbon into some of these Chinese mics, the results you get are probably going to blow you away. Thanks, Uncle Mickey. I appreciate it, man. So you guys are all hanging out with me on Sunday. This is a real slow burn. This is not meant to be exciting. No one's going to watch this video and go out and find a woman or a man. And there's no advice in here about life except working on ribbon mics and how do you make carne asada, how do you cook a Wagyu steak. I did a video on how do you make Hong Kong toast. And when I lived in Hong Kong for 2 years working out there, I used to have this toast and see, in doing there it is. And I used to, and so I figured out how to make it back home. So I have a video on how to make Hong Kong toast. I cook really well. All my family were chefs, but I've never cooked for a living. I'm gonna go in and buy a Wagyu steak later, and I get these cheap steaks for like $20 because it's like $36 a pound. The cuts that I get are smaller, so they're always like 18 to $22. And me and my wife, she's Filipino, she's a little lady. I can split that steak with her, and we have some rice, and I'm content. My whole life of meeting my wife in Hong Kong, and we would split all our meals, that when we would come out here back home, it was just, she could not comprehend me buying 2 big American meals when she says that was fine for both of us. Now, initially I was like, well, you're talking for yourself. I'm a big Mexican guy here. I want to eat more. But it was the best tip for me on my health-wise, and my wife is always looking out. See a little bit of foil right there. Is that foil? What is that? Yeah, I don't know what that is. and she's always looking out. And then now in retrospect, yeah, I'm totally programmed now to buy a small piece of steak, and that is going to kick. That's going to work. So I'm going to do a video on making a Wagyu steak because the Japanese people make the Wagyu steaks the best. I'm going to show you how to do it, and even how to. Do you know how you pick a if you eat meat? And like I said, no disrespect to someone that doesn't eat meat. Hold on, I got to get this right. This mic is complete. That is an OGMC upgraded ribbon mic. You just witnessed that. It was intense. I am completely drenched. Original GravityWave microphone company, OGMC. You can add me on Instagram under Chavez Ravine, which is my band, the music I make. My videos start off with my band, some of them, not this one. My company that I'm going to be making my own ribbon mics is Original GravityWave Microphone Company, but you can find it on Instagram. Just put in OGMC, which is crazy because that term, OGMC, I'm sure a lot of rapper and hip hop guys want that, but in the search, it only comes up as my label. And you can always find me at Manny's Mic Locker, which is the name of my YouTube here. And let's see. Uncle Mickey says, Manny is the Glenn John style of mic placement, good for live recording and all the band in the room. What stereo mic setup would you do? Well, that is a great, thank you. One, for the kind words. Two, if you're recording, even though I know a lot about engineering, every single record I make, like every ribbon mic I work on, is not guaranteed. So your technique is only as good as the band, and if you have safeguards in your technique, if the drums or something doesn't come out right, you have to have something to fall back on, and that means multiple mics on the drums and multiple mics on guitars. Maybe his guitar is totally nasty and you weren't prepared for it. When you hear it back in the mix, luckily enough, you had a ribbon mic on it, or maybe you had a darker mic, or maybe the room mic ends up being the main guitars because the original guitars were harsh. Now you could say, well, why don't you just EQ it out? I like mic placement as opposed to EQing. And the only EQing I usually do is high pass and low pass. That is the secret right there. If you look at all the people that use Pultex, man, they're just doing high pass and low passes with a little bit of air. Stereo mics. When I record drums, I'm using the Glenn John style, which is one overhead and a mic off to the side. And then in your panning, you pan this one hard left or hard right, or you do audience perspective. I'm audience perspective, but then drummer perspective would be that. So the overhead now is panned all the way left, and the floor tom is right. That is a stereo image. That's why you get the Led Zeppelin drum sound. I kind of enhanced that. He has the mic usually a butt. Like if this is, let me get something. If this is the top of the floor tom, and you have an overhead, and he puts this mic down, the Glenn Johns is kind of somewhere over here. So you have one overhead, and I go 2 drumsticks length here, and this is the floor tom. The drummer's obviously where the mic is. So this is the drummer. The mic is his overhead here. This mic, Glenn Johns, was kind of like in the back, in the rear, somewhere in this area. He really loved it. I personally has liked it almost down where the head of the capsule is shooting above the tom, going towards the snare. That, I really love that. It just makes my my deal here. So it's stereo, but in the sense of that on other stereo mics, I love MS, mid-side recording, and I do that when I can. For vocals, I do stereo miking, but I put 2 414s on the floor, aimed up at the vocalist, or any 2 mics that are omni on the floor looking up at the vocalist. And I don't really care on the spacing. If I make them about a foot apart, I widen them so it sounds massive. When I was younger, I did all types of overheads because no one told me the writer, even though Albini had space overheads. When I looked at Albini's, he almost didn't care about the hi-hats. So the hi-hats were never mic'd, and the overheads were usually on the... So when I looked at pictures that I had taken, if this is a cymbal, the overheads were always coming down just outside of a cymbal, at least what I saw years ago. So even today, I'll put my overheads up if I use a stereo pair, and I have them so they're just outside that symbol. And if I spot mic, I put it, I spot mic with an AKG 224E, which is a Beatles era AKG. Hold on a second. Let's see. I hope I say it wrong. Valio? I probably said it wrong, dude. I'm so sorry. How did you start repairing ribbons? Well, earlier in this video, I explained that during the pandemic, I wanted to, I saw Ulf's video. If you look up Hoborec, Hobo, and then REC, that's his page. Watch it. He has killer shit on it. He built a ribbon mic, and I saw that like in 2019 or 20, I think. And it really freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, I would love to build a ribbon mic. And then the pandemic hit. And then I was just like, and I don't know why 160s were my favorite mic. So I started researching 160s and I found out that those are really small ribbons and they're really difficult. And I thought, well, that's a good one I'll start with. I started with making the hardest ribbon mic on earth that very few people, even in the United States, can corrugate a ribbon like that. No one told me. So I started doing these 160s and then I started installing them in my 160s. I would go find them broken and then learned all about repairing and making a Buyer 160 sound better than the stock. I did a 160 for Justin Medell Johnson from St. Vincent and Beck. And I didn't know it. I mean, I had a lot of confidence to him. I did the ribbon mic for him. What I didn't know is that his studio, when I returned that Buyer 160, he put it up next to a stock 160. He said that the low end and the fidelity of my ribbon sounded better than even a Buyer original. So I was rewarded with my hard work and my diligence in learning about ribbons to be able to replace a Buyer 160, which is one of the greatest ribbon mics, and make sound even a little bit better. So that technology of how that mic worked, I learned about. Then my work ethic and my diligence on cutting the ribbons. And because I did the 160, where this ribbon, if the sound hits it, it moves like the ribbons in the middle, it's moving forward. And if sound hit it, it would go back. Buyers move up and down. So you have to corrugate the ribbon so when the wind hits it, it moves like a piston. And within that, you saw me use that foil, which is so thin. I had to corrugate it. So there's 3 different types of corrugation that makes the wind hit it and it moves up and down, not this way. That alone is a real mindfuck. And I, by accident, through trial and error of almost a year, figured out how they did it. They probably have some corrugated machine that does it. I did it by hand first to understand it. If I wanted to, I could probably make something, but I'm not looking to copy a Buyer 160. The ribbon mics that I'm making are somewhat closer to I've ended up falling in love with the BK5 and a Russian BK5. Right in the middle is what I loved about that. So that's kind of how I started. I hope that made sense. Hoborec. Yes, okay, you know him. Oh my God, like, and here's the crazy thing. I saw that guy online. He lives in Sweden. I don't know him. I can't remember how I got a hold of him. I saw a video. He was coming to Los Angeles. I wrote him, and I can say that right now he's one of my dearest friends. I hang out when he flies into LA to come to NAMM. We go have breakfast, and that guy has became one of my greatest buds. So, I mean, dude, we're looking at like I've been talking for 143 minutes. That's like 2.5 hours or something. Jesus. Hold on, I need another drink. Oh my God. Thank you all. Wow. So, this is my afternoon. I think I'm spent. And so this is a ribbon mic. So from Ulf building a ribbon to now 4 or 5 years later, 6 years, and I'm repairing mics that came from the origin of him, and I'll be respectively giving him the credit because he single-handedly got me into this. I talk to Ulf now, and he just kind of laughs at me. He doesn't even understand what I'm doing. It's like he's the guy. Dude, you're my dad. You're my dad of ribbon mics, and he's like, my kid's insane. He's moved on to other pastures on what he wants to do. So I really appreciate Ulf, and so I will just say this to wrap it up. These are MXL R144s. They're brand new. They sell them at Sweetwater. If you buy these for $99 online. You can ship them to me free. This is only for US only. They'll ship it to me for free. Write me. I left my email on this page, or you can go anywhere on my Instagrams and find me. Hit me up so I can give you my P.O. box, and then go to Sweetwater, buy the R44s. I recommend a pair because then I can match them as close as I can, and I will upgrade them. It's $250 each upgrade. You send it from Sweetwater directly to me for free, and then that cost that you're paying me, I send it back to you not only for free, I pay for the shipping, I pay for the cost of the mic, and I insure the cost of the upgrade. And so I insure it for that full cost, and then I send it back to you in case it's lost or anything happens. And then these are Nady RSM5s, which are incredible. These used to be as available as R144s. I don't know why they disappeared off the net. You got to search for these on eBay and Reverb, so the prices will vary. Uncle Mickey, give me some money from the UK. Yay! Thank you. Get a little hard on that. So you can get these if you find these. And like I said, if you're from Europe or you're out of this place, it has usually been about $70 for me to ship it anywhere in the world, even down to Australia. And the only variable would be maybe $20 more. But if it's a little bit less, I'll refund it, the difference. But if you don't live in the United States, you can still buy these from Sweetwater, not these are the MXLs, ship it to me for free. And then when you buy these from me, it's $250 a mic, but add $70, and I'll just cover the rest of it, and I'll send them back to Europe, Australia, Germany. The only problem that you may have is customs, is once it's sent to you, getting it tied up. But I don't think that's a big deal. And if you have the time, I've done it. I've sent mics to Australia, to England, Canada, even though they're our neighbors. It's really expensive to send to Canada. So it usually applies about the same, 70 extra bucks, and I'll do it. Beyond that, that's all I got to say, except that I can help you out. If you're an enthusiast, you can go buy kits for ribbon making on eBay. They're a little bit expensive, but I just shared on all the tools I have to buy and all the little things I have to work. Even these self-healing cutting boards, this larger one was almost 25 bucks. The alcohol and, acetone via nail polish remover, everything's going to cost money. The sheets of aluminum for cutting this is almost 100 bucks. So you're not going to get anything going on. Oh, Shannon got a pair of 144s. Oh yeah, he recently got a pair from me and he really loved them. So Shannon, thank you so much for the kind words. And he is a stickler, and he actually named them. What are the names, Shannon, if you're still there? I forgot what he told me. It was like Hilda and Ruthenberg or something. I don't know what. But yeah, he named them. He really loves them. And that to me makes me happy. If I do anything, it's just to try to make people happy. This is not a quick get money scheme. Believe me. There it is. Laverne and Shirley. Oh my God! How could I let that slip my mind? I used to watch Laverne and Shirley when I was a kid. Shannon, I think you're a little bit older. That's some knowledge if you can dictate some Laverne and Shirley with Squiggly or whatever name. And anyways, and the Fonz used to sometimes be on Laverne and Shirley. So, like I said, this is strictly out of love. When my ribbon mic company goes not big, but when I really invest a lot of my time into that, I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have between producing and then making my own microphone to dealing with this. So if you are around, grab these microphones while I'm still doing them. And I will tell you this, if you get a mic from me and instantly you put it into phantom power and you blow it, or somehow you're like fearless, you're like, fuck it, I'm going to use this on a Marshall every day, and the ribbon fails, send it back to me. Send me an extra 25 bucks, which covers me for the foil, and then pay for the shipping. And so if you get these and by accident you put phantom power and you blow both of your mics, just cover me 25 bucks a mic on the foil and cover the shipping. and I'll hook you up. And that's something I'll promise to everyone that I've ever done these for. So I may start my own company, but I will honor that because you've been nice enough to support me while I learn about microphones. And it does help me because it does make up a little bit of help regarding studio work. But that little extra money isn't really, uh, I'm not buying, I mean, I have a 19 or 2005 Subaru. I can barely afford to buy the mics I buy. Living in Los Angeles is incredibly taxing on us, and even a two-income family. So, all your help does work. And Uncle Mickey, that's a Pellegrino on you. I appreciate that. And like I said, if you want to send thanks, go below the description. You can put any amount you want. I'm uncomfortable to ask people for a lot of money because I think if you get a ribbon from me, that's better. But you can buy me a coffee. Like if we were buds and we were hanging out, I'd be like, Shannon or Uncle Mickey, let's go get a coffee. If you said you want to buy me a coffee, I'd be like, totally, man. And I'll tell you what, I'll get the sweets. So I'll buy some Mexican coffee cake for you or something like that. Anyways, thank you guys. I'm out of here. I've been talking for now 150 minutes. All right. Enjoy your day. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Shannon, using the mics on a record. Thank you, Shannon. Adios, everyone.